Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, let's try something different here.
Dhamma Master, I think we're hearing ourselves through your speaker and microphone, and it's coming back to us.
It's not my mic. There's a loop. I'm getting what you just chanted 2 minutes ago repeated. It has to do with the TV. It's not on my end.
Jerry, can you make sure
I just heard the English chanting. Do something different here.
Okay, Jerry, make sure the microphone is not set to the webcam.
No.
And it's coming back to us.
Yeah. Why is that? It's not my mic. There's a loop. I'm getting what you just chanted 2 minutes ago repeated. That's the answer. I had myself. I solved it. I was playing YouTube on my browser without knowing it. Okay, Michael, please don't move. Stay right there. Here we go. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahudi samyao samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahudi samyao samputoshe.
Together, Wu Shang Shen Shen Wei Miao Fa, 百千万劫难遭遇，我今见闻得受持，愿皆如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Well, what a lesson. That's twice that's happened. I had myself open on YouTube on my browser, and the browser was minimized, so it was hidden from sight. So we're actually hearing a loop from Queensland to Berkeley to YouTube back to Queensland. That was hilarious. Okay. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you after 2 weeks. I am back from Uluru, from the red heart of Australia, also called Ayers Rock. And I'm also back from Melbourne, where Sam and I spent a weekend speaking Dharma at a whole handful of various assemblies. You'll notice, take a look at my desktop here. This is Uluru, Ayers Rock. Uluru is the indigenous name for this geographical center and also spiritual center of Australia that the indigenous folks hold as the most sacred place. And people are not the most important creatures at Uluru. They're among the most important creatures. But people have been there for, they're different accounts. Some say 30,000, some say 60,000, some 80,000, some say don't try to count how long. Humans have been focusing on that rock and telling stories. That's where you go if you want to find out who you are as an indigenous person. Notice that we have yang here in the sun. This is a sunrise. Here we have yin and yang, the original meaning, which is the lee side of the hill and the sunny side of the hill. And we'll see a little more of that in a bit. Okay, so this is our Avatamsaka Sutra lecture. I want to appreciate Heng Sure, Chuan Sure, Sure, who stepped in while I was away and kept the Dharma wheel turning. And today, everybody else is up at the City of 10,000 Buddhas for the Guanyin session. And Heng Sure is holding the fort and keeping everything buttoned down. As Sherpa would say, making sure nobody steals the door. Right? So it's an important job. And let us begin by chanting the name of the sutra and the assembly, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who's protected. Okay, we'll do the Chinese, which you see down at the bottom here. Namo Tafang Wangpo Ayen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Wo Pu Sa Namo Tafang Wangpo Ayen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Wo Pu Sa Namo Tafang Wangpo Ayen Jin Ayen Hai Wo Pu Sa Namo Tafang Wangpo Ayen Jin Ayen Hai Wo Pu Sa Namo Tafang Wangpo Ayen Jin Ayen Hai Wo Pu Sa Namo Tafang Ayen Jin Ayen Hai Wo Pu Sa. All right. Okay, now tonight we're going to start here and read these 10 sentences, long sentences from the Avatamsaka. We'll start with the Chinese first. we'll just do the first couple lines together in a formal way, and then we'll do the rest as we go through. So here's the Chinese, where we're going to begin. We'll read Fozi and then Ru, and then we'll go over and read the English. Okay, so we'll start right here. I'm going to put my palms together. People are welcome to do so if you're comfortable doing that. And if you can read the Chinese characters, or the Guoyin Zimu, the phonetic alphabet there, or three choices. You can read the ABC romanization, Hanyu Pinyin, down below. We can all try our Mandarin. Here we go. Ready? Fo Zi Pu Sa Mo He Sa Zhu Ci Di Qi Di Yi Ru Wu Liang Zheng Sheng Jie入无量诸佛教化众生业. Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, once the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, abides on this seventh ground. He engages with realms of sentient beings beyond measuring. He engages with the karma of Buddha's teaching of sentient beings beyond measuring. So we've got a pattern right away, and the pattern is Ru. And what else? Let's see here. Ru Wu Liang. So these three characters are the pattern that repeat. You can see there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is, right? So there are 10. In the Avatamsaka, there's always 10. Oh, looks like there's more than 10. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 Rus here. And 20 Ru Liangs. Ru, I'm going to copy this out here. There we go. Copy and put it right here. Here we are. Ru Liang. And it's tiny. We've got to make it bigger now. There we go. Okay, Ru Liang. It's kind of nice to have the text under your fingers. That way you can actually you can illustrate with the text itself. Before we had to use our imaginations when I was at the computer. Oops, come back. There we go. So this is Ru, 4, Wu, 2, 4. Ru, Wu, Liang, ... What does that mean? Well, here's that first word, Ru. And probably 7 out of 10 times it can be translated as to enter into, mostly. And then Wu Liang is without measuring, can't measure him, immeasurable. We could even say infinite times, beyond measuring, right? Our early translation was measureless, which is completely Chinese, measureless. So beyond measuring, something that you can't get a tape to measure out the inches, you can't get a scale to measure out the pounds, you can't get a speedometer to measure the velocity. There's no measuring this quantity that it's talking about. So in other words, a lot. Wu Liang means many, 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 many. And what is he doing? Entering? How do you enter a lot of ... whatever it is, in this case, 20 things. So the challenge for us is to say, does it only mean enter? In our earlier translation, by golly, had 20 enters. He enters into. He enters. Like you're outside the door and you take a step and now you're inside, cross over the lintel, the threshold, and now you're in the other side. That kind of enter, like enter the gate, right? So I thought to myself, I said, it doesn't make sense to talk about entering every time. What else could it mean? Now, let's take a look here. Here's a really good, commonly encountered instance of Ru. And what is mun? Take a look, it's a door. It's one of the pictograms. Is that, Jin Hoshu, is that big enough on the screen? Can you see it? Bigger still? Oops, can't hear you.
Am I okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, good.
Okay.
Is that
yeah,
big?
Because
Okay.
Yeah, it's very legible.
Good. Okay. Here we go. Ru, mun, entering door. A door enterer. So what is a door enterer? It's a primer or a primer, meaning your first book of something. When I really learned Chinese in school, this was what I learned with, and it's one of my favorite books to this day. This is a book I actually digested. I have to say, I and my classmates really devoured every page of this book. Guo Yu Ru Men, Mandarin Primer. Mandarin Primer, it was called. It was a beginning book, a book for beginners of Chinese, beginning students of Chinese language. Right? Mandarin Primer. Guo Yu is Mandarin. Now it's pretty much called Putonghua in China. Ordinary talk, but primer. So it's a what? It's a gate enterer. So in this case, you can see you're just a beginner. You just set foot in the gate. You're not an expert. You're engaging with. You're facing with. Taking the first steps into. Okay, what do we got here? Here's one. Ru 4. Ding 4. Ru ding. To enter samadhi. How do you enter samadhi? Is enter the word we want? But there you go. And here's one. Ru Chan Chu. Not what I need. I need ABC. Ru for Chan, like as in meditation. Chu Chan. Ru Chan Chu Chan. To, let's see, if we were to really put it in colloquial English, it would be to begin and to end meditation, like that. Okay, so take a look. Here's our notes. Let's make this a little smaller in this case. There we go. So you what? You enter, but when you combine it with mun, you don't enter a door when you're talking about a beginner's text. It's a primer, right? Either way. Mandarin Primer is a beginning book for students of Chinese Mandarin. You ru ding, you enter samadhi. Yeah, in a sense, but it's much more like this. This would be not my choice, although this is clearly what we have called it ever since. It would be to immerse yourself in a meditative state, right? Kind of like that. You succeed in your meditation. Another way, you become absorbed in meditation. Like that, kind of, something like that. Enter, when you meditate, it's not that you step across a gateway, although it's a little bit like that. Okay, so, and then, here you go. This is Ru paired with Chu. So here there's a sense of kind of engaging. You're involved in it, and here you quit. Chu, you're out. So you're in meditation, you're out of meditation. Okay, so those are some, you could find many examples of how Ru is used in colloquial Chinese. But here we have, take a look at our text. We got 20 Rus, followed by Wu Liang's. Is he entering something? Is he entering limitless? How do you enter limitless? If it's got no limits, you can't enter it. There's no place to begin. So what do we do? So I came up with some suggestions for how this makes sense to me. And wait till we see what's being rude, and you get a better sense of it. Enter is one choice. We've been saying master. You become thoroughly expert at. Sometimes you merge with, immerse in. To immerse into you, to embody, meaning you and it are one thing. That's Ru. It enters you in a way. And you identify with, you become one with, or you integrate with, like that. Those are some of the ideas. So here's what I came up with. Let's use last one, to engage with. Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, once a bodhisattva, mahasattva, the great bodhisattva among other bodhisattvas, abides. The Chinese word was zhu, lives, stays on. Right? You live there, you stay there, you rest there. Abide is a good word, made famous by the great Lebowski. The dude abides. It's another story. Once the Bodhisattva abides on the seventh cloud, he engages with realms of sentient beings beyond measuring. Controversial translation. I can hear people saying, engages with, Ru? How do you, what? No, I've translated it this way, sort of provisionally, knowing that there's going to be pushback on this one. But I think we're not wrong in dumping enters for what the Bodhisattva is doing. Do you enter a realm of sentient beings beyond measuring? If it was a country, like you cross the border, he entered Canada at, what's the name of the border crossing up Vancouver? Something Island. When you cross at Vancouver, when you cross out of US into Vancouver, what's the name of the town? Blaine, E-L-A-I-N-E, yeah. He entered Canada at Blaine. Okay, you entered the Canadians at Blaine because you stepped over, you got your passport inspected, you hope they don't come out and look at your car, or if you do at the airport, it's not Blaine, it's the airport, but you get inspected, you step in, and now you're in Canada. You were admitted into Canada. So that's a sense of Ru, you actually stepped over a line. This is American soil, Canadian soil. I get that. Is that what you do with realms of sentient beings beyond measuring? I don't think so, unless those realms of sentient beings have like discrete borders. No, it's not. So engage with. You don't master realms of living beings, sentient beings. You interface with, you engage with, you, what were our other choices here? You identify with, integrate with. That might be, if it's a bodhisattva who's doing it with transformed bodies, huashan, right? Those response bodies. Maybe you integrate with those living beings. You become one with them. Something like that. That might be, for the bodhisattva, he's doing that. She's just doing that to teach them. Maybe. Okay, food for thought. Anybody want to give me some feedback on that? What do you think about engaging for Ru? Phil.
Amitabha.
Hey.
How about interacts?
Take a look here. Interaction with. What do you think?
I'm thinking in terms of like in the hospital, doctors interact with other doctors, nurses interact with other nurses. They do, doctors do talk to nurses, but generally speaking, they're at the doctor levels would interact more with doctors.
Okay. The way to do it is to plug it in and see if it works. It's in the same realm as immerse, integrate, engage, interact. Clearly, part of Ru means to step into. But is it literally? That's the question. So Ruman, here's our example right here. You don't enter a gate when it's a basic textbook. You become a gate enterer, meaning what? Beginner. It's a primer's a beginner's book. Okay? It's not an expert's book. This is not advanced Mandarin. This is Mandarin for beginners. Bo, po, mo, fo. That's what you learn. You learn the ABCs of Mandarin. So it's got that sense of entering, but not literal. So interact with, okay, plug it in. Let's take a look here. He interacts with realms of sentient beings beyond measuring. Number 2, 入无量诸佛教化众生业. He engages with the karma of Buddha's teaching of sentient beings beyond measuring. So he is, now do you want to say interacts with the karma? Maybe, that you can see how that might work. He masters the karma of Buddhist teaching. No, that wouldn't work there. But you enter karma? No. So I would say we are looking for a replacement for enter for this word Ru, and it happens 20 times in a row. So to integrate with, to interact with the what? Beyond measure, Buddha's teaching living beings, karma. Okay. Interesting stuff. Try number got a question? Anybody? Suggestion? Info, Jinhosha.
I'm not sure how the Chinese interacts, but for the English, would it make sense to have a word that corresponds to the conditions of the remainder of the context of the sentence? So, for example, realms of sentient beings, say, could be interact, and then the karma could be engage, and then like nets of worlds beyond measuring could be enter, for example.
Okay?
Instead of following the Chinese style of Wu Liang.
Not limiting yourself to one translation, you're saying.
Because I'm looking at all the sentences in English,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. They are.
yeah, it might make sense to be within the context of the subject. I'm not sure.
Okay. So make it contextual and not limiting yourself to one English word, consistent. I think that's very interesting. So he engages with nets of world. Let's see, we didn't do the Chinese. Here we go.
But having said that, engage does work though.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Yeah,
I'm going to do 4 more. We'll do a bite of 4 here because we got to go. Got 18 to go. Ready? 入无量世界王，入无量诸佛清净国度，入无量种种识别法，入无量诸佛现觉智。In English, over here. Okay, here we go. He engages with nets of worlds beyond measuring. He engages with Buddha's purifying of lands beyond measuring. He engages with varieties of dharmas beyond measuring. He engages with Buddha's wisdom of displaying awakening beyond measuring. Okay. We've got suggestions online. Seize their karma. A progression of starting or embarking to deeper level of interaction. Okay. Yeah. It's what it's that let's just use the ru indicates a gradual deepening of mastery, almost ability, connection with in colloquial street English, we'd say he gets it. He gets it. He gets it. So, for example, to engage with nets of worlds. All right, complicated language. Why? You don't think of worlds in terms of nets unless you look up at the night sky, especially if you have a telescope to help you. You can see just past the naked what your own eyeball can see. You understand nets of worlds. If you see all the stars, they seem to be in nets, then they seem to be in clouds, then they seem to be in waves, spirals, constellations, of course. And all you have to do is get out beyond the city lights. I was just in the center of Australia, in the outback, where there's nothing. It's just flat land and all of the incredible life that has adapted to living there. There's no industry. There's no towns. There's no neon. There's no car headlights. It's just the planet and the sky above it, the heaven and the earth. And you can see, and because of that, the air is particularly clear. So you can see nets of worlds pretty easily. Beyond measuring, right. What does he do with them? Enter them? You enter a net? If you're a fish and you've been caught by the fisherman, yeah, you enter the net, but you're trapped. We don't want to give the impression that the Bodhisattva is trapped by nets of worlds. No, he engages with, he interacts with, he immerses into nets of worlds. It's not stars or constellations. It's talking about worlds. And the Bodhisattva is able to engage with them. Another reason to pick the word engage is to indicate not yet is he master. The Buddha is the master. He would master measureless worlds. Yeah, Jerry. Yeah, Jinhe.
Absorb the karma of the Buddha's teaching, the sentient being beyond.
Absorbs. That's Alan, right? Am I hearing Alan?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Absorbs. Like a sponge. Okay. Let's see.
My mind was thinking about the metaphor, like entering the treasury of the sutra, but actually you study the sutra, you absorb the meaning of the sutra. So that's how I come up with the absorb.
Okay. How does it go? 自归依法当用生，深入经藏. Yeah. Here we go. Watch this one. This is a perfect example. This would work for our decoding the Dharma. There we go. Watch this. Our Buddhist idioms. Shen, Ru, Jing, Zang, comma, Zhi. Hello, where is it? Zhi. Duke. There we go. Number 6. 智慧如海. There we go. So it's Shen 1, Ru 4, Jing 1, Zang 4, comma, Zhi 4, Hui, Ru 2nd, Hai 3rd. Okay, Shenru Jingzang, Zhihui Ruhai. Deeply enter wisdom, deeply enter sutra treasury. Whenever I heard this, I saw somebody in the library, the stacks of the library, right? It's like somebody's entering the sutra treasury. You got the key, maybe you've got a carol back there, and you've got to come back out before they close the stacks at 5 p.m. So deeply enter Sutra treasury, wisdom like sea, ocean. What is this? This is our taking refuge verse. 自归依法当愿众生深入经藏智慧如海. Right? To the Dharma I return and rely, vowing that all living beings deeply enter the sutra treasury and have wisdom like the sea. So, right, it's definitely a sense of you got your book bag and you got a cup of coffee, although they probably don't allow coffee down in the stacks, but you go down there and it's musty and, maybe it takes stairs. Stairways are always creepy, down you go. And it's quiet down there, and it sure has a unique smell. The stacks in a library have a unique smell of all that paper and ink. So you enter the sutra treasury, but what if it's to master the sutra treasury, to excel in, to Alan's, you could use absorb, that's his suggestion. You absorb the sutra treasury, although it sounds like kind of you got your fingertips, you're picking up through your skin organ instead of your eyes and ears. So what else? Engage with the sutra treasury, right? Just not enter. Enter, you see a body going through space. That's the problem I have with this. I don't think it always indicates a body moving through space. It's not a physical gate that you enter. It's not a physical border that you step across. I don't think so. I think that there's an invisible spiritual, intellectual entry that is meant here. So, okay, people understand why I'm ranting on like this? So let's take a look. Do you, here please, do you engage with Buddha's purifying of lands beyond measuring? First of all, that's another unfamiliar image. How do Buddhas purify lands? You kind of get the image of a mop, broom. The Chinese says, 入无量诸佛清净国度or 国土. It's not that lands are dirty and somehow the Buddha becomes like the Department of Public Works out there with his cart and rake picking up Reese's peanut butter cup wrappers, and beer cans. I don't think so. I think when you understand the mind ground, I think the image is the Buddha is Hua Fan in Chinese. He's unknotting afflictions. Afflictions are the mind used wrong. It's a knot in the mind. Greed is an illness of the mind. Anger is an illness of the mind, a poison. And delusion is an illness in the mind. And the Buddha is in there curing those illnesses. He's unknotting the knots, taking them back to Heng Sure, calm, impartiality, so that you don't attach, you don't stick, the self doesn't get stuck. And that's purifying. I think it's really talking about internal lands. And the Bodhisattva is engaging with that. He's learning how the Buddha purifies mind lands, not to say landmines, that's different, mind lands, but lands in the mind and living beings in those lands. So the Buddha is purifying. You don't want to think scrubbing with soap. It's not that. It's removing affliction. It's getting rid of the dust of delusion, right? Of ignorance. He's lighting up ignorance, removing ignorance. I think that's really what it means. So why I think that way is if you apply the mind ground vision, the idea, the sixth patriarch and Master Hua and Master Empty Cloud always talking about the mind like a garden. And in that mind, defilement, dirt, is an affliction. It's the mind used inefficiently. A really good example of how you would purify a land is get rid of your doubts. If you're always doubting and uncertain about whether this principle is really true, you need to purify that land. It would be sutra language here. But what that means is cut your doubts. Doubts are like dust bunnies under the bed. You lift the bedspread and you look under, and there are these little clumps of dust under there. Nobody cherishes their dust bunnies. You don't make a collection of dust bunnies, right? You sweep them away, put them in the trash. They don't have any intrinsic worth. It's just a temporary coming together of the kind of stuff that gathers under a bed. And doubts in the mind are just like dust bunnies under the bed. You don't entertain them. You don't treat them politely and ask for opinion, right? You dump them. That's what doubts are. They're a defilement of the mind. They need to be purified. So you qingjing, the Buddha land of the mind. That's what Buddhas do. So now, some people might disagree. There might be active purifying of lands, but I think it's, if you put it on the ground of the mind, you can approach it. Suddenly it makes sense, more recognizable. Okay, so what else? 入无量种种持别法. He, she engages with varieties of dharmas beyond measuring. You don't enter a dharma. And that's what we had before. We definitely had it. He entered variegated dharmas beyond measuring. Limitless variegated dharmas. And my mind doesn't go there. I can't make sense of that. So you engage with varieties of dharmas beyond measuring. You read about this, you study this, you discuss that, you investigate this. All these different dharmas you engage with. Doesn't mean you have to master them. How do you master a dharma? If it's capital D, it's a Buddha's method of practice. Got it. A dharma method, but here it's lowercase d. 种种区别法. Okay, so you engage with varieties of dharmas beyond measure. Anybody want to like stop me before I engage again? You're all going, he must be right. I mean, he's the only one talking. He must be right, right? I don't hear anybody else talking. Okay, I'm happy to hear why this is wrong, so we can. Anyway, so next, 入无量劫数 left one out. 入无量诸佛现觉智 Okay, tricky. Here, take a look here. Oops. Gonna make it bigger, make it bigger. There we go. Bigger yet. Oh, so big. He engages with, beyond measuring, this is a pluralizer, all, just Buddhas. He engages with Buddhas, xian, making appear, jue, awakened wisdom. What do we call it? He engages with Buddha's wisdom of displaying awakening beyond measure. So he's engaging with wisdom. What kind of wisdom? Displaying, showing awakening. Showing people means to use, to get the right answer, to use proper, correct knowledge, principle. So here's the verb. This is another way to do it. Ru, verb. What? Chi, object. Verb, object. So he engages with wisdom. What kind of wisdom? Awakening wisdom. What kind of awakening wisdom? Displays of, showing, awakening wisdom. What kind of displays of awakening wisdom? Buddhas, plural, displays. So he's out there saying, wow, look how the Buddha solved that problem. That was really wise. That really hit the spot. He's engaging with it. Because why? This is seventh ground bodhisattva. He's not there yet. Chabador. Almost there. So he's still learning from the Buddhas. Okay? That's what I got out of that. He engages with Buddha's wisdom of displaying awakening, showing you how you use wisdom to deal with stuff. One example, by golly, climate change. If you're awake, you're going to recognize that climate change and human activity are related. If you're not awake, you will not make that connection. We've just had, NASA, pretty much NASA must be one of the last words in terms of measuring environment, because NASA is responsible for getting people off the planet and back safely while the whole world watches. So they better be right. Okay, NASA releases statistics saying that the last, 6 months, so March, February, January, December, November, October, have been the hottest 6 months with those names in recorded time. And is there a connection? If you're asleep, or if you profit from not recognizing that connection, then you say, well, there are other theories. The jury's still out. We need to do more research. And you might say so. However, as our beloved President Barack Obama, said in his speech at the ASEAN conference down in Manila last month, he said, the jury is in. The jury's given their verdict. And 99% of scientific establishments and research indicates that our planet is no longer balanced in the amount of ozone destroying gases it can absorb. It doesn't absorb them anymore. The environment is broken now. And most of it, interestingly enough, this is funny. It's well, I'm going away from my engaging with, aren't I? So let's give a more down-to-earth example. I didn't want the guys to be in that one, the unawake guys to be Republicans, or but that's our Senate at the moment contains a lot of people who are publicly denying that climate change is connected to human activity. It's called anthropogenic climate change. They say, no, it's not. Okay, let's move it away from that one to another very interesting story. Have people seen the film called Cowspiracy? It was available, Cowspiracy. It was available, I think, for free on their website for some time. I was an early supporter back when it was a Indiegogo or crowdfunded. We were supporting it back then, and we got 2 early copies and the bumper sticker, and I believe we got the T-shirt too. Our support. Cowspiracy is a couple, it's a man and wife, filmmakers who travel around. Their foundation in teaching is that, well, the point they're trying to make is that the #1 source of atmosphere destroying gases are large animal livestock. Who says so? The United Nations. The United Nations released a report actually a while ago, it's like 2006, I think, or 2008, that said large animals used for beef or pork and occasionally chickens, but sheep, produce more methane and atmosphere harming gases than all the internal combustion engines in the world combined. In other words, never mind cars, never mind buses, never mind planes, never mind putt-putts, mopeds, motorbikes, motorcycles, put them all together, more methane that harms the environment, harms the atmosphere, comes out of the tail end of large animals than all of the other internal combustion engines. Okay, so the husband and wife, I forgot their name, they took this fact around to not the climate deniers, that's obvious, they don't, they don't agree that there's any problem to begin with, but they went around to the liberal progressive organizations such as, and everybody hates to name them, like Greenpeace and like the Sierra Club, like who else? There's a whole list. And they said, by the way, we really like the work you're doing in protecting animals and keeping our awareness of cruelty as a real as something that humans should aspire to turn away from, you know. But what about this statistic that meat eating destroys the planet at worst? And in film, one by one, these liberal organizations say, we don't have any information on that. Please go talk to our secretary, you know. Here's our email address, write to us if you have more information. They basically shut them out, kicked them out, and said, we don't want to hear anything about that. Don't bug us with your meat eating as a source of climate change stuff. And it was a shock. It was a total shock, because these are supposed to be what? These are supposed to be beings who display awakening. They're partly awakened, but when it comes to what's on their dinner table, they don't want to hear about it. And the film showed from organization to organization, there was nobody home. And they went to where? They went to the Food and Drug Administration, right? FDA in Washington, and found these empty hallways and empty offices. Nobody would meet them. Nobody wanted to talk to them. They were trying to get people to acknowledge that if you're really serious about doing something to help the environment and slow down climate change, stop eating meat. Go to people. People didn't want to hear it. And it even gets weird because they actually get life threats to their lives. You guys better shut up about this or else, was a response in some cases. And it was going, well, we have to decide whether to turn our cameras off or to keep telling our story. And it's, you know, there's suddenly this, it's more than just embarrassment. It's like, oh, people really don't want to hear this information. So there's an example of that. That's a long story to suggest that Buddha's wisdom of displaying awakening beyond measuring, it's like you would really like people to display wisdom beyond measuring, right? So the Bodhisattva engages with it. Okay. So next, 5 characters. Look at this. Ru Wu Liang Jie Shu. The Bodhisattva enters kalpa numbers beyond measuring. No, he engages with numbers of eons beyond measuring. This doesn't sound right, does it? Want to try some others? Alan, what was yours? Absorbs numbers of eons beyond? No. He, she, wrong one. Translation. What? Masters, merges with, embodies. Get out of there. There we go. Identifies with, enters, numbers of eons. So, more than entering, isn't it? Keep moving. Yeah.
Number of aeons is a measure of time. So does this mean that he just, how do you engage with time? You just pass by, you pass through the time, or? The image that happened in my head as I was thinking this is you count them, or you contemplate them. You don't count them, you contemplate them. You can't measure them. So you're going, wow, that's a long time, you know. You engage them. So, okay, example. How long does it take to cultivate to Buddhahood? If you are Sudana, 1 lifetime. I think 12 years is in the story of the Gandavyuha chapter 39. If you're just a beginner, if you make the Bodhi resolve from the start, they say Sanda Asangchijie, right? 3 large Asankhya eons beyond numbering.
Not one, not two, but three of those. So what do you do with that when you hear that number? Do you like go blank, tilt, or do you process it? You know, there'd be a translation here. He processes numbers eons beyond measuring, meaning tries to grasp it with his mind, knowing you're going to fail, but you somehow you get in there with it. Something like that. Does that make sense, Heng Sure?
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Try again. One more. 入无量诸佛觉了三世智. Let's do the word by word first before we go look at the English. Okay. 入, that's the verb. To enter, what? 智, wisdom. Again, same as the one above it. So he is engaging with this wisdom. What kind of wisdom? 是, world wisdom. What kind of world wisdom? 三世, three worlds, or realms sometimes. The wisdom of three realms. 了, understand. 觉了, awaken to and understand. 诸佛, Buddhas, awakening to and understanding three worlds wisdom. That's what a bodhisattva, what he engages in, she engages in. So, English, he engages with Buddha's wisdom of comprehending three periods of time beyond measuring. Make that a little smaller. He engages with Buddha's wisdom of comprehending the three periods of time beyond measuring. So, what is three periods of time? Past, present, and future. And our sutra actually talks about that a lot. There's a verse where it's earlier in the sutra where it says, the bodhisattva understands that the three periods of time are nothing but talk. I love that. Three periods of time are nothing but talk. So past doesn't exist. Future doesn't exist. Present, show me the boundaries of it. So it's just a continuum. Now, is that the way I see it? No, because why? When you enter samadhi, when your wisdom reintegrates all the pieces that you get from 分别思想, from your discriminating mind, 分别心, you put all those pieces back together into one big unit, then you see that past, present, and future are conventions that we make with our mind, with our language, because it's very helpful to know what time it is. Yesterday, we had the Patriarch Sutra lecture, and daylight savings has happened to California. Poor Qin Qianshi got faked out. He went online to get the lecture, and living in the monastery, you know, our clocks, you just kind of know what time it is. He missed the lecture because the daylight savings had happened. So, you know, this is 12, we began at 12:30 with Queensland time. I gobbled my lunch today, came running back to get here on time. Before daylight savings, we had an extra hour. I could decide whether I wanted to, you know, set the computer up last night or today, like that. So, in other words, three periods of time in the Buddha's wisdom of understanding those has to do with meditation. How's your meditation? Bill Foreman mentioned that filmmakers Kip Anderson and Keegan Kuhn address the effects of cattle on the environment. Right, thank you. Okay, moving on here. Any comments? Please speak right up. Ask Heng Sure for the microphone. What's next?
Dharma Master.
You sure? That Phil?
Yes.
Without even looking, I know your voice. How about that?
Oh.
Ooh.
That good? Or
We've known each other for quite a while.
okay. I'm thinking that if these items, if you will, Buddhist numbers of eons beyond measuring, varieties of dharmas beyond measuring, is it that the seventh ground, when you enter it, is it a one-time? I mean, does it exist anywhere else, for instance, like in other grounds, or is it exclusively in the seventh ground? Because you would interact with it, it would be neutral. That word interact would be neutral, but encounter is another word is that you could use. If in the seventh ground, that's where you would encounter it, as opposed to any other ground.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like the point. Interact, it does, that was your first suggestion a minute ago. Interact sounds like two equals. You interact, I mean, you can interact with a puppy, but you play with a puppy, or you tame, train a puppy. You don't interact. You interact with your professor. You interact with your neighbors. You interact with the policeman. To encounter indicates initial. I would say initial encounters, later encounters. It's just meeting. Meets. That would be another way to say encounters. Meets up with. Now, your question, Phil, is this unique to the seventh ground? Definitely. What are we looking at? Let's take a, where we go? Come back here. Let's step back 1 second. And this is, the last couple lectures, we came out of the sixth ground, which was the 12 links. And in the sixth ground, the Bodhisattva encounters emptiness and has to use prajna. So there's two levels of truth. There's relative truth, where there's duality, and there's ultimate truth, prajna realm, where duality is gone. And the sutra is full of these apparent contradictions. Okay, for example, remember where these were? Let's see, the first one. We had all these although he's good at cultivating samadhis of emptiness, marklessness, and wishlessness, still, because of compassion, he doesn't enter samadhi at all. He doesn't abandon sentient beings and leave through the door of samadhi, the gateway of samadhi, right? So we get all these, there were 10 apparent contradictions, paradoxes. The Bodhisattva could do this, but he doesn't do that. He does something different. Okay, why? Because he's got two levels going on. He can now use emptiness. And he's in there teaching, but he's not touched by it. He stays in birth and death, because in samsara, where we are, but he doesn't burn. He doesn't shriek when he burns up, trying to tame living beings' anger. Because why? He knows it's empty. So there's a little bit of magic going on here. There's something behind it that indicates that's really a bodhisattva. It's not just your neighbor, not just your boss. Okay, so this is the beginning of the seventh ground. So is there something unique here? Yeah. Seventh ground is he has now gone beyond that simple connection with emptiness. And Vajra Treasury and Moon Liberation were saying, if the Bodhisattva wants to enter the seventh ground, he should cultivate 10 aspects of expedient wisdom that bring about the path. So now the key is expedience. This is Upaya, the name of this ground, right? Oops, don't do that. It's upaya. He's skillful means. The Bodhisattva's able to teach without being an ultimate thing. It's an expedient. Okay, so here we are. That brings us right up to our section. He's able to do all these things because he's going to teach from here. He can rule 20 different kinds of situations beyond measuring because he's now a teacher. She is now a teacher. And she's going to be teaching expediently. So interact with, yeah. You could almost say knowledgeable in. I still like our street English. He gets the number of eons beyond measuring. He gets nets of worlds beyond measuring. He gets Buddha's purifying lands, right? That's almost the best one. Did people read Stranger in a Strange Land? Not a book I necessarily recommend, but you grok. To grok. Only a baby boomer would laugh at that. You have any baby boomers in the room? To grok something. We'll add that to our list. To grok. To get. That's a term invented by the author, Ned Heinlein. And to grok something, to grok X, means you groove with it. You get it. You totally grok that. And it was an invented word, and there was a couple decades when people would use grok, but I don't think we can anymore. I think the time of grok is over. Probably if you use the word grok, you're gonna get a lot of puzzled stares. So, but that's, I think, the best one, is he gets it. Bodhisattva gets these things. To master, yeah. To absorb, yeah. To interact with, to grok it is you thoroughly understand it. Let's see if we plug it in. Let's see if it works. Here you go. 入无量众生区别信也. There's our verb. He grok, he gets. Understanding and faith are differentiated, varieties of faith and understanding. Living beings, variety. Allah, why Jews call the divinity Yod-He, Vav-He, Yahweh, no name, you can name it. Okay, he who goes beyond it. Why Christians call him God. Praise God. On a Sunday morning, you're God. When you go to divinity school, you learn how to say it different. You can't just say God. You know, God. That's too rough. You go God. You have a degree from the seminary, so you learn to say it different. You're qualified to add a couple of God in there. Praise Jesus. Praise God. Okay. 入无量诸佛实现种种名色身. Take a look. He gets what? Shen, body. Si, form, body, physical body. Ming, name. 种种, variety of name, form, body. Xian, showing, variety of name, form, body. 实现, showing, displaying, variety of name, form, body. 诸佛, the Buddha's display of different named form bodies, physical bodies. Translate, he engages with Buddha's display of various kinds of names, forms, and bodies beyond measuring. I think I would do that differently now. Let's take a crack at that one again. Notes. Here we go. There it is. Too small. Make it bigger. he engages with Buddha's displays of various of variously named physical bodies.
Dhamma Master,
Hi.
with demonstrations work in place of display? Because when I see this Buddha's what the Buddhas do, it's out of in response to beings who do their different conditions.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel demonstrate. I'm not sure if demonstrate might work.
Demonstrate works. Also showing. Oops, there we go. So what do we get from this Shi? This phrase, there's real magic going on here, and frankly, from the point of view of science, it is magic. Which is what? This word here, Shi. The Buddha appears in a body just for us to look at. The body isn't there. On the other hand, you could say, sure it is, and you'd be right too. But I'm not trying to be tricky. I'm just saying that once you get the state of Buddhahood, once you realize Buddhahood, you have three bodies functioning, all simultaneously at your will, as you want to do it. The Dharma body, I say, is just like space. It's like the air. There's nothing to see, nothing to hold, but there's nowhere it's not. There's the Baoshan, the reward body, which is the body we see. That's the Buddha with the 32 hallmarks, long earlobes, knobbly hair, 40 teeth, right? Purple eyes. And that's the body that our eyes see. But then there's the the tens of thousands of millions of transformed bodies, also called response bodies. And those are the ones that Jinhosha was just referring to. They appear as needed to teach, just at the right time. When needed, they show up. And they could be someone you know. They could be someone who rescues you at the right moment, you don't know who it is, but it's just right. That's an upaya, expedient means that the Buddha shows in order to what? With various names. Wu Yang, Zhu Fo, Shi Xian, Zhong Zhong, Ming Si Shen. He displays, he shows, he demonstrates many different physical bodies with many differently named physical bodies. They're all the Buddha. Okay? That's why I say magic. From, here we are. This is body. This is it. And you have to feed it when it's hungry. You have to warm it when it's chilly. You have to cool it when it's hot. Sleep it when it's tired. That's the body. Buddhas are not limited to that one body. And how does that happen? It's in us, in everybody. It's coded into our Buddha nature that at a certain point of selflessness, when the self is really transformed, then the Buddha could identify what does it mean? They tong ti da bei, same body, great compassion, same with everybody. So the Buddha could appear as a whale. The Buddha could appear as a mosquito or a mountainside of mosquitoes. Maybe he would. So here we go. Yeah. So I think demonstration. What was our? Keep doing this. Huh? Keep bringing that one up. There it is. Demonstrations of variously named physical bodies. It's all the Buddha's body, but different names. Okay, more. Time's running out here. Try a couple more. 无量众生欲乐诸根 识别. Tricky. Enters, masters, integrates with, understands, gets. 别,识别, differences. 根, faculties or organs. 诸根, plural. So eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. The differences in faculties. 娱乐, desires. 众生, living beings, desires. Sense organs, differences in. Beyond measuring. He engages with sentient beings, differences of differences of inclination and disposition beyond measuring. 娱乐, happiness. So inclination. You incline, you lean that way, right? Like this means you're heading in that direction instead of okay, your desires. 乐, disposition. Yeah, that's too fancy. It's more like what you like. Differences of inclination and disposition. Living beings, desires and pleasures, sense organs, differences. I would translate that differently now. Inclination and disposition sounds like legal language, something in a contract. It's more like what pleases living beings' faculties, what their eyes like to look at, what their ears like to hear. I think that's what, in all their differences. And this bodhisattva gets all that. He's good at that. I think we're closer. It's like grokking, you know. The bodhisattva gets what living beings like, what their eyes like to see, what their ears like to hear, what their tongue likes to taste. Okay? Have you ever looked at cultures in terms of their alcohol? It's funny. Every culture takes grain or potatoes or honey and brews alcohol. Right? If I say, hola amigo, tequila, you don't think Japan. No. Tequila, Mexico. But if you go to Mexico and you say, ano ne, sake onorimasu ka? They go, what do you say? Tequila? No, sake. Japan has sake, rice wine, right? You make sake out of rice. You go to Russia, vodka. It's vodka from potatoes. You make vodka out of potatoes. And you don't drink sake out of rice wine. You got potatoes. So you make, what do the Irish make? Oh my goodness, they make whiskey out of green hops and, single malt and stuff. So every culture has their own alcohol. And it's funny, I never connected with hard alcohol, the confession time, right? The camera running, this being recorded. I think I got drunk once in my life on hard liquor. And I was with my buddy, Tommy, and we were like, seniors in high school or something. And we drank a couple shot glasses of whiskey. And I remember meeting the floor. I remember I passed out. And it was like that, a couple seconds of inebriation hit the deck. And that was it. And it was like unpleasant, But everybody has in their culture some way to get drunk. Some way to take potatoes, rice, hops, wheat, millet, grain, whatever it is, and turn it into something that'll scramble your brain. And yet it's different, but we all reach for that. So here's the Bodhisattva saying, yeah, I get sentient beings have differences. Well, we can't have it be casual. I need to keep track of these so we can plug it in for our next version. Work in progress. It needs to be. Okay. He engages. He gets. I'm moving towards that. He gets. Street English. Gets, meaning he understands. Sentient beings. Differences in what pleases their senses beyond measuring. What 娱乐, what delights. Here it is. Living beings, desires and pleasures their organs, sense organs. What makes their sense organs happy? And trivia and the differences. Okay, last one. You guys have been so patient with me. Okay, ready? Here we go. 入无量诸佛语言音声令众生欢喜. He gets beyond measure Buddhas. That's a pluralizer for Buddhas. Language, voices, and sounds that make sentient beings happy. He engages with Buddha's vocal sounds of speech, which delight sentient beings beyond measuring. He gets the Buddha's vocal speech sounds, vocal sounds of speech. Is that redundant? Is there any other kind of sound of speech than vocal? Yeah, that's redundant. Buddha's voices and words. So it's the language and the sound of the language, which delights sentient beings beyond measure. Okie doke. Well, we're going to come back there. I wonder if I can I do this? Yes, there we go. Shocking pink. Good grief, in a sutra. We're going to come back there, and I need to actually translate more, so we'll have more text. All right. If I don't hear any words to the contrary, I'm going to consider that a wrap for today. We're done with the sutra. This was an earlier version. Enters sentient beings' limitless differences of inclination and disposition. That's meaningless to me. I'm going to enter your inclination and disposition. Nope. That's half translated. All right. Now, if folks will indulge me again, I put together some photos that were taken in the last three weeks around here. We are now in autumn. It's autumn here in Queensland. The equinox has come and gone, and things are at their biggest. It's harvest time, and the eight-legged critters are at their biggest, and you can feel it in the air as we move towards shorter days, longer nights, and these are the sights here that Sam Ong and I are seeing and experiencing around Paramita House here in the Queensland bush. So let's take a look, see how it works.
Oh, we lost the sound. We can still see, but there's no sound.
There you go. Okay, get ready for the next couple. There we go. Okay. So that's just, everybody wake up. That's just the photos from 3 weeks coming around autumn. We're concerned about the baby possum because we only saw her for 2 nights and now we don't know. And at that size, she's big enough to run around, but too big to be protected by mom, and she'll get in trouble. And possums that size are everybody's favorite food around here. The pythons, the snakes will definitely grab that one. And the eagles come down, pick it up, and cats and dogs. And yeah, so anyway, we're crossing our fingers that the baby possum survives. We don't know. So anyway, it's quite wonderful to be out here in the midst of everything, interact with so many critters. The dingoes that you saw, those are really special. They're purebred dingoes. I wonder if I've got, let's see here. Maybe I shouldn't go digging around here. Let's see here. Probably, could it be there? No. Anyway, I won't waste your time. The dingoes are in Melbourne, and they're very special dogs. And they're the woman who keeps the dingoes happy, Lynn Watson, is now a friend of ours. Here we go. Here's Saxon, S-A-X-O-N. And Saxon is completely purebred. They do DNA testing. And you can see he's just, there we go. He is pure dog. And they think one of the oldest dogs on the planet. Came down from Asia, probably. But there's something very captivating about the gaze of the dingo. They say they're very loyal, and if they can hypnotize you with their look, but gentle and kind and curious and very much a wild animal. You can't keep dingoes in an apartment in the city. Just doesn't work. So we're privileged to be able to meet with these 30 dingoes that Lynn Watson keeps at the Dingo Foundation. And we're actually supporting Puppy for a year. This is the baby possum that we're concerned about. Wish we could see her again, make sure. We don't even know if it's a boy or girl, but you see how innocent, just totally clinging on mom's back when mom leaves. And when I showed up, the possum tried to climb back into mother's pouch, because these are brushy tail possums and they have pouches like kangaroos. And she's just too big, she wouldn't fit anymore. So she's on her own now, and we hope that she survives. Anyway. So lots of fun. You know, Heng Sure is famous for having giving possums massages, among other things. The possum massage video is pretty famous around here. None of the locals could believe it. They'd never seen anything quite like that. So. But Heng Sure, as long as they're eating, right? They're like, you can pretty much do anything with them as long as they're eating.
Yeah, eyesight is really bad, so they might mistake a finger for a biscuit.
That's right. That's right. And they go by smell. I don't know if it's the eyesight is bad. It's that we have that big light, and that we have a motion detecting light, and their eyes are super sensitive. They're out like this. And I think they're blinded by the light, so they go by their nose. And what's the difference between the finger and the biscuit that the finger is holding? Yeah. All right. Well, by golly, here is a historic photograph that we're pleased to be able to show. This is as people know, it's the guest building. Used to be the library at California Mendocino State Hospital. Then it became the guest building. Now it's the Dharma Buddhist University building. And what you're looking at is the staff, the faculty, administrators, students of Dharma Buddhist University, and the 6 members of the WASC accreditation team over here in the corner who agreed to sit in the photo with us. And this was the event was the historic inspection of Dharma Buddhist University by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, WASC, who came out, did what we promised we would do a year ago when they gave us permission to begin to teach. And we'll get their verdict in 2 or 3 weeks. They have to vote. And if indeed, there's a variety of categories. There's our monk right here. There's a variety of categories that you can get. The highest is you're accredited. In other words, you're the same as Stanford, UC Berkeley, Caltech, in legally speaking. You can issue visas. All of those designations of being in business. But most important is it's Master Hsuanhua's vision for how the Dharma is going to come into the West. He said, if education thrives in this country, Buddha Dharma will thrive. He said, and by that he meant reformed education according to wisdom. So here's that picture. What I like about the picture also is the green grass. Notice, because there was 4 years of no rain, and now grass is nice and green. Anybody want to comment on this at all? Anybody who was there or?
This is Angela. So my understanding is they're going to finalize their report in 2 weeks, and then that report will be sent to the commission, and we should hear the final results of their vote at the end of June. So that's when we'll have the final announcement.
Okay. All right, so into the summer. Fun? What was it like? Pretty exciting, right?
To me, it's like a dream. Yeah, it's like a dream. It's a moment. It's feel not so real, but it's there. It's happening. It was happening. Feel like a dream to me.
All right. Heng Sure, you got any comments about that? What was it like from the Sangha's point of view, or among the Sangha students?
I think everyone was really excited, and the whole faculty and staff put in more than 100%. So it was a huge relief for when we heard when WAS shared their preliminary findings with us and gave us their recommendations, and everything was really positive. So I think all the hard work is paying off.
Great. I happened to listen to the report when they gave it, and while it's too early to say anything one way or the other, what I did hear them say was, you all need more students, and we that's what we want to have happen. Should you pass, your next step will be to increase your enrollment. You can, you said. You've got the facilities, you've got the faculty, you're set up to increase enrollment. You need more students. So I heard that as a direct challenge, for me. So wherever I go, I show the website, I talk about Master Hua's vision, and try to explain a little bit about what it's like studying at Dharma and Buddhist University that's different from studying at other institutions, San Francisco State, UC, Hayward, other schools, College of Marin, Diablo Valley. What's it like at Dharma and Buddhist University in terms of what happens to you, the student, as you respond to the vision of the RBU. And that's one of the things that the accrediting team did a lot of, was talking to the students themselves. And they, you can't manufacture enthusiasm that will fool them. You know, if you're enthusiastic about the right things, they'll hear it. And while I wasn't there for any of those interviews, but the ones I've had, when I talk to students who take those courses, there's genuine enthusiasm about learning. People are high on learning. You know, whatever it is they're picking up at DRBU and being encouraged to do is just the juice is flowing. You know. Alan, you got the mic in your hand?
Yeah, I heard one of the comment. One of the reviewer, she had that our student was so great, and then she would really want to pack our student and she back to her own school. So she just couldn't see that, wow, our student just wonderful.
Nice. Okay. So that's our big news, and we're all. You can't hold your breath for 6 weeks, but you know, end of June. That's you got to go through May, and then you got to go through June. So and you got to go through April. So another actually 3 months before we find out. So, okie doke. Heng Sure, you want to give some announcements? What have you got for us?
Tonight's actually the start of the Guanyin session at City of 10,000 Buddhas in Ukiah. So this evening they'll be purifying the boundaries, and then tomorrow morning, I think the first incense starts at 7 in the morning. A lot of us have already made our way up there. For example, Heng Sure is already up, and then I believe Heng Sure is going up tomorrow, and Alan, Yihuan, I think some of us here are going up tomorrow.
Okay. We started here in Gold Coast today. And
Forgot to mention, it's Guanyin Bodhisattva's birthday tomorrow.
Indeed. Yeah, good. I'm explaining the Sixth Patriarch Sutra also, and online, and the time is geared for Europe. So it winds up being what Heng Sure, what time is the lecture used to be in California? For me, it's 6:30 in the morning. What time was it in California?
It used to be 12:30, he says.
After lunch. Now it's what, 1:30 or 11:30?
1:30.
Now it's 1:30. It's an hour back. Okay. So we've come to the section in Sixth Patriarch Sutra where he's talking to Magistrate Wei. It's chapter 4, the doubts and questions section. And I worked with, this is a pre, it's not done yet, but I worked, here's my note. Thank you. Here we go. Here we go. Questions chapter. I worked with that verse. This is the first time, well, the first time was, you know, the famous, the body is a Bodhi tree, the mind a mirror stand bright, that famous verse. But here is the first time the Sixth Patriarch has used verses to teach. And Marty's and my translation is pretty scholarly, I have to say. It's not very singable, but I thought, man, he's doing, you know, spoken word poetry. So, 心平和老界，行之何用修禅? Just subdue your mind. Why toil with the rules? Straighten out your steps. Meditation's got no use. Filled with gratitude, repay your parents too. Righteousness, both high and low, empathy, above, below. Get along with everybody, noble and beggar alike. Endure what's hard to bear. I will not complain. If fire can start from rubbing sticks and from this mud, let's see, we got from mud, a load, here, there we go. From mud, a lotus blooms. Here's our meter. If fire can start from rubbing sticks, from mud, a lotus blooms.
Oh, an idea for the one get along with everybody.
Yeah.
What's that? Noble and beggar alike.
Yeah.
Endure was hard to bear. My thought was put complaints aside.
Put complaints aside.
I know it sounds the meaning is slightly different.
Yeah. It's he's this is now the 人子众生无宣. You can be patient, then living beings do not mutter. They don't complain, right? Put complaints aside. Good. All right. Good medicine that cures your ills is bitter on the tongue. Good advice that helps you out often stings the ears. Change your ways, wisdom will arise. Covering your faults betrays petty mind. Every single day, practice generosity. If giving won enlightenment, then rich men would go free. If you search for Bodhi, just look in your mind. Seeking for some magic spell is such a waste of time. Who can cultivate the way according to these words? Paradise will now appear right before your eyes. Anyway, rough, but it's got a little bit more life to it than what we had before, which was pretty stiff. So coming up anyhow. So we'll be that will be debuted on Friday, my Friday, your Saturday, the next 6 Patriarch lectures. So anybody who wants to tune in can hear the initial go round of that. So, okay, let us transfer the merit and see you all next week. Thank you for joining. Jerry, how many folks are with us online? $22 max. Good. All right. Here we go. So palms together. Let's transfer the merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. We'll see you all next week. Everybody, help everybody, please.
Okay.
Okay, Amitofo.